Hello, welcome to HITC Sport, and Phil Jones looks like a homeless Bilbo Baggins. Christ, well, this photo alone looks like it's ripped off the set of The Hobbit. Clearly these two are no longer trying to murder each other with the fate of a ring, but Phil Jones is back! Back in the matchday squad for Manchester United, and nobody seems to care. Well, I mean, where's the homecoming? The excited fans flocking in the streets to welcome him back. Anyone? Are you just gonna pretend that this man hasn't been employed by your club since 2011? Apparently he is to football what McCardle is to music. You know, washed up, forgotten, should be selling stamps at the post office, right? There is a perception out there that Jones is nothing more than a walking egg sandwich. An embarrassment of a footballer. Honestly, go down any pub in Manchester and you'll find three inevitable things. Firstly, you'll have some 19-year-old wet nugget sitting in the corner trying to play the Wonderwall chords on his guitar, with the pub landlord this close to beating him to death with a bottle of whiskey. I mean, there'll probably be a shrine in the toilets that Tyson Fury got sick in during his post-Klitschko 3-year bender. But finally, you'll also hear at least one disgruntled Manchester United fan bemoaning the existence of Phil Jones. A lot of Man United fans, they treat Phil Jones like he's some human gargoyle with two left feet. I mean, there seems to have been a myth out there that he's some panda bear type centre half who makes Paul McShane look like a Ballon d'Or contender. A guy who's got the footballing ability of Susan Boyle and the natural good looks of a muddy shoe. No, I'm sorry, you do not play over 220 times for Manchester United without possessing some sort of ability. Sir Alex Ferguson once said he could be the greatest player in the history of the club. You know, above Bobby Charlton, Roy Keane, Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, when Wayne Rooney read those comments over breakfast, he probably immediately choked on a slice of toast. Actually, it was Wayne Rooney. At 8 AM in the morning, he was probably eating 3 pepperoni pizzas, a bucket of chicken wings, and some old lady's underwear. Yeah, okay, that was clearly a senior moment for Fergie. But Jones, he's an easy target. He's a good centre half. Why do you think no Manchester United manager has decided to sell him? Good Chris, Mourinho is a man who worked with the likes of John Terry, Lucio, Sergio Ramos, some of the greatest centre backs in the sport. And within 3 weeks of accepting the Old Trafford gig, he was presented with the opportunity of Stoke bidding for Jones, wanting to pair him with Ryan Shawcross. An ugly, snarling centre back partnership that honestly would have made them look like a set of orcs. Christ, well, Shawcross and Jones, two players who look like they eat kittens for dessert, and who, if they weren't footballers, would probably spend 23 hours a day desperately swiping Tinder until they bled from the fingers. I mean, let's be honest, if Jones wasn't a footballer and instead worked in Costa Coffee, he'd soon be a 35-year-old virgin getting banned from Asda for trying to make love to a pumpkin in the fruit and veg aisle. But Mourinho chose to keep PJ around. But still, 4 years ago, Gareth Southgate was hailing Phil Jones as England's best offender. I mean, this was just a year after John Stones became the most expensive defender in British sport. I mean, this was just a year before Harry Maguire became the captain of Manchester United. Phil Jones is a man who deserves respect. 10 years ago, he was the subject of a £15 million bid from Chelsea. And I'm sorry, that's the club he should have left Blackburn for. Yes, that club is a managerial merry-go-round, but I'm sorry. He would have been the young British centre half learning alongside John Terry, not Gary Cahill from Bolton. I'm convinced if Jones had gone to Stamford Bridge, learning under the wing of John Terry, a partnership of JT and PJ. I know, it sounds like one of those weird underground R&B groups who audition for Britain's Got Talent. But honestly, I'm convinced if he'd stayed clear of injury, he'd have had the career of Gary Cahill. Honestly, 10 years ago, there was nothing separating the two. One was at Bolton, one was at Blackburn. Oh, but no, he goes to Manchester United, who were just 2 years away from Fergie leaving and then plunging into a decade-long crisis. Playing under the spotlight at Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs on planet Earth, who's never going to survive the spotlight. This man's just a Twitter meme. At Chelsea, he would have nailed down a starting spot at centre-back. But at Man United, he's been played out of position. This man, who at just 20 years of age, was playing centre midfield against Real Madrid at the Santiago Bernabeu and successfully marked Mesut Ozil out of the match. He was only 20. I mean, I know Reece Oxford did that at 14 or something, but still, does that not prove to you that Jones has a bit of quality in his boots? Jones has never once complained about playing out of position. This man is a centre back, and yet 2 years ago, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was picking him as a right back for a trip to Barcelona in the Champions League, being played out of position against Philippe Coutinho and Lionel Messi. Ask Gary Cahill to play right back at Chelsea in the Champions League, and he'd have also looked like a burnt marshmallow. Jones has never complained. He's got his head down and got on with it. When Louis van Gaal picked him to play corner kicks against QPR, Jones probably knew he was going to be mocked on the internet, but he didn't argue and took them anyway. I mean, this is what most Manchester United fans think Jones has been doing.
Hi Phil Jones, brought you some rat heads. Phil? Phil, it's just Ollie here. Phil?
What do you want?
Hi, Phil. Yeah, just the thing is, we just signed Rafa Varane. We were wondering, would it be possible to take your number 4 shirt?
I'll take that as a no then.
How else do you survive 10 years at Old Trafford? Is it not testament to Jones that despite the many own goals, the loss of confidence, the injuries, he's still being kept around? This guy is a meme, I know he is. But lads, remember Phil Jones famously tackling Olivier Giroud with his head, lying on the floor and deciding to nudge the ball away from the Arsenal striker, preventing a certain goal, by the way, because it's Jones, a guy who's got the facial expressions of Shrek making love to his overweight wife, because it's a fella who looks like something out of Muppet's Treasure Island. Honestly, in another life, this guy would have probably spent his weekends playing poker with Kermit and ploughing Miss Piggy behind a shed. Because Phil Jones looks like this vase, because he's got the face of a scary looking leather handbag, oh, you use this as a stick to beat him with.
I can't believe PJ just headed the ball off the floor. What an uncoordinated caravan. I bet he also eats sausage rolls out of a petrol station sink.
Lads, if John Terry had done this, you'd be giving him a Medal of Honor. Watch Sergio Ramos do this in a Champions League final, and he's getting the Man of the Match award. This was an example of heroism. The guy is sticking his face where it hurts. I mean, how many of you would throw your skull in front of a professional athlete's foot? I mean, yes, okay, he does have a face looking like scrambled egg on toast, so he's not exactly risking his good looks. But still, do any of you fancy getting a kick in the head? This was Terry Butcher-esque defending, and he gets laughed at it. The guy is an easy target. If the Man U Village does that at Old Trafford, you would treat him as some sort of Braveheart lion-esque warrior. Double standards! This is like one of the cool kids turning up to school with a Hannah Montana lunchbox. Oh, then nobody bats an eyelid. No, they say it's fashion. But if one of the nerdy students from the math club dares to bring that into school, oh, they'll probably go home wearing their lunch. Christ above, they probably spend 3 hours of their Monday night trying to comb the yogurt out of their eyebrows. Rio Ferdinand has come out recently and accused Jones of being a financial leech.
You've got to get Phil Jones out the door first.
That's out of order. Oh, no, man.
Why is it out of order?
You're right, though.
Is he coming for anyone's position?
No. He's taking up the youth team player's position in that squad. If I was in a squad like someone like that, I'm not talking to him. They're a waste of time, waste of your time. Why am I chatting to you and giving you any energy?
I'm sorry, taking up a youth team player's position in the squad. Does he just think Jones has spent the last 2 years eating Pringles on his couch? No, he's been in the gym. The man said his injury problems from hell. Sorry, Rio, but go back to the summer of 2014. A newly promoted QPR chucked in a bid for a hungry, young, ambitious defender Jamal Lascelles, trying to take this young 20-year-old starlet out of Nottingham Forest. Now, this would have been a positive signing for a newly promoted QPR. Yeah, after the disaster era in 2012, you thought they were learning their lessons now, because back then they just filled their team with a bunch of overpaid mercenaries, and so now, yes, Lascelles would have been a step in the right direction. You know, this would be like a recovering alcoholic choosing to order a glass of orange juice at the bar. Yes, great, but within 2 weeks, then choosing to slap a fat wage in the face of a disheveled Rio Ferdinand who could barely walk to the toilet without getting a stitch in both kidneys. Oh, that was like falling off the wagon and drinking vodka out of a shoe. Rio, when you were stumbling about Loftus Road looking like Pingo and Smack, were you then worried about stealing a spot from an academy player? By your logic, after being dumped on the bench after Halloween, you should have ripped up your contract and agreed to spend the rest of the season eating hamburgers on your couch, right? I mean, don't get me started on how dreadful you looked as a footballer then. In that handful of games for QPR, you are a worse player than Jones has ever looked. Ever. Good Christ, you played like Hugh Wizzy in a wig. The man has been injured for 2 years. Last week was the first time he's ever trained Bruno Fernandes. Before that, the Portuguese midfielder probably thought this guy was just some weird fella crying in the canteen every day. Honestly, half the Manchester United squad probably only met him last week, just watching him stare at them on the training pitch from the comfort of his pedal bike in the gym for 2 years, in between mouthfuls of tear-stained popcorn. But he's back. He was back on the bench against West Ham. And we should celebrate this. The fact is, he's still a professional footballer at the age of 29 is some sort of short miracle. It's nothing short of a testament to how much he wants this career. Many players can't be bothered with international friendlies, right? So many feign injuries so they can avoid them. But back in November 2017, Jones took 6 injections in his leg to help him through a friendly against Germany, playing in a back 3 with Stones and Maguire. That's how much he wanted to go to the 2018 World Cup. Weirdly, that was also a match which featured Jake Livermore and Jack Cork. I'm sorry, but someone whose surname is Cork should never be playing for England. Priced above, what would Brian Baruch think? He's just missed 591 days through injury, missing out on 94 games of football for Manchester United, including a European final. So Rio Ferdinand, please, just go back to licking Mike Ashley's nutbag, or getting challenged to weird threats on the internet.
Rio, I've got a challenge for you, my friend. I'd like to bet you $5,000 that Liverpool finish ahead of Manchester United in the league next year. Let's see, Rio. Have you got the cojones to put your money on the table, mate? $5,000, Rio. Over to you, my friend.
That was weird. Phil Jones does not need this from a former teammate, nor does he need Fat Man Cooney is telling him that he's useless in the street. No, he wants to come back and prove himself. This man has missed so much football, I just feel bad for the guy. He's rejected moves to Stoke in the past, when it would have been so easy for him to just fall into mid-table mediocrity. The man's not perfect, and no, he's probably no longer good enough for Manchester United. By now, he is probably just a withered up houseplant with limbs made of butter, but he'd still do a job for someone like Newcastle, West Ham. Good Christ! I'm convinced if he goes to Arsenal, he'd be in the starting 11 after Christmas. So honestly, leave PJ alone! Anyway, that's it. Let me know what do you think, alright? Am I being too lenient to Phil Jones? Is he actually just a walking sandbag? Let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and as always, I'll talk to you in a while.